Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to watch the video and spend some time with me. Always very grateful for that. And guys, today we are going to be talking about what I consider the probable reality of bass fishing over the next 5, 10, or 15 years, just looking down the road in the future. This is something I think about a lot. I've always thought about a lot. I think it's a conversation we need to have, and I think it's a conversation that and a topic that needs to be on the top of everybody's mind that loves the sport of bass fishing. So we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, just a couple quick thank yous here. Just wanted to give everybody a big thanks that have taken time to subscribe here to Intuitive Angling. If you haven't had a chance, I'd like to invite you to do that. It's free and easy, good way to help the channel. And also a big thank you out there to everybody that's taken the time to use and bookmark my Tackle Warehouse link that I put in the description of every video. Guys, all you guys that are using and bookmarking that Tackle Warehouse link to buy your tackle, you guys are really supporting the channel big time, and me and my family are really grateful for you guys doing that. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, this is, a lot of people are going to say, oh god dang, Randy, just another negative whining video. Guys, one of the things about it is, like, if you watch this channel, you know, we talk about a lot of different stuff on that, and you hear me being critical of a lot of different things in the sport, and that's not just to hear myself talk. I'm critical about that because if like anything else in life, if you have a problem and you don't acknowledge that's a problem, that is what leads to issues down the road. And that's what causes bad things to happen. If you don't acknowledge a situation, you can't deny reality. And one of the things that I think a lot of people do in bass fishing is they get so caught up in just themselves and just what's in it for me. You know, they don't have any awareness for the future of the sport. That's one of the things I hate about live scope, because it's a very selfish tool. There's nothing there's not a redeeming quality in it. It's all about what I can do to catch more fish for me now. It's nothing, there's no vision for the future with that. So anyway, we're going to talk about this, and I want to break it up in a couple different areas, because you have the future of tournament fishing, and then you have the future of just regular recreational bass fishing. And it's I can sort of break it up into three different areas. The challenges there's a financial situation, a financial challenge, there's an environmental challenge, and there's a technological advancement challenge that threatens the future of the sport in a big way. So we're going to delve into each one of those in today's video. First of all, one of the things that I want to get into, as far as when you look down the road, like the next 10, 15, 20 or something years down the road, what are the biggest threats to the future of our sport? And I break those up in those three different categories. So let's talk about the environmental changes first. One of the things about bass, if you love to bass fish and hunt, you should be just a fierce protector of environmental safeguards that actually keep your playing field safe. And the problem that we have is that in this country, we have a tremendous amount of apathy when it comes to environmental issues. And we have a tremendous amount of misinformation. We've got a tremendous amount of, misinformation is probably one of the biggest things. But more than anything else, the state of our environment, specifically when it comes to our water quality in our lakes and rivers, our air quality, that type of stuff, it has to do with legislation. And the challenge that we have, and the problem that we have moving forward in the future, is most of the time when you have different political parties that take power, it doesn't matter if it's a state or federal level out there, it's usually broken into two camps. You have one camp of a political faction that is pro-business, pro-growth, they're anti-regulation. And every time people get in positions of power that adopt those philosophies, normally environmental safeguards and environmental regulations go out the window. And when they go out the window, that's when your water quality degrades, and that's when your air quality degrades. And then if the next political party that takes power eventually, they're environmentally responsible and they work to restore those environmental safeguards and stops and try to do things to protect our air and water quality for the future, they may make some incremental changes. But if the other party takes power, they get rid of those changes. So it's sort of a back and forth between the irresponsible group of politicians out there that sort of undermine legislation to protect our air and water on a long-term sustainable level, against those people out there that are the adults in the room, and they really see value to protecting our air and water, like it's more important that we hand off clean water, clean air to the next generation instead of a big tax break or something like that. So there's a tremendous amount of ignorance that is out there in terms of what is important regarding that, and a lot of it is fed by special interest groups. You got special interest groups, particularly on a corporate level, that spend billions of dollars spreading misinformation and disinformation and undermining efforts to protect our air and water quality. So one of the biggest things in bass fishing you got out there is, over the next 15, 20, 25 years out there, the very health of our fisheries depend upon people in positions of power that legislate those laws into effect. That's why we've seen all you guys down in Florida, you know how the chemical companies and the herbicide companies have devastated Florida fisheries. I think there's a political agenda behind that. You know, you've seen them spray out there and kill up all the grass. The water quality degrades, the fishing degrades. We've all seen what's happened to Lake Okeechobee over the past 40 years with the nutrient overloads from the sugarcane plants and the agriculture down there. It's not just limited to that, it's everywhere out there. So from that standpoint, one of the biggest challenges we have in the sport is to maintain the purity and the health and the vibrancy of the very playing field that we have. And I would highly encourage everybody out there, before you cast your vote on a state and federal level, you need to look at their environmental voting record. Vote those people out there that are sucking up to the big corporate interests that are, you know, reducing the regulations to allow these people to pollute and put more point source pollution into our waters and airs. That's the first thing. Second thing with that is the financial disparity that is the challenge that we have in the sport through the financial disparity. Now, this isn't as much important in regular bass fishing as it is in tournament fishing. Regular bass fishing, you can pretty much do what you want to do. If you want to bass fish out of a 10-foot flat bottom with oars on it, you can do that and catch bass. So from a recreational standpoint, the increase in the cost of fishing doesn't have an impact as much as the tournament realm. But there are, you know, hundreds of thousands of tournament bass fishermen out there. And the problem that we have now and moving forward into the future, because I don't see anything that stops it, is just the fact that tournament fishing it's an elitist sport already. It has effectively been turned into an elitist sport. When you have guys out there that, in order to compete at the top levels, they have to have a $100,000 boat, a $100,000 truck. They pay $50,000 a year in entry fees. They have another $30,000 in incidentals. They got another $30,000, $40,000 in travel expenses. They got $50,000 worth of electronics on their boat. You have created an elitist sport. In order to allow people to compete on a level playing field, they have to have that type of equipment and technology. This is a problem that the tournament organizations have created themselves by not limiting equipment and by not limiting horsepowers, not limiting, you know, everything that has skyrocketed the cost of fishing. And this financial disparity did not exist when I started. When I started tournament fishing, you know, full time back in the 80s, tournament entry fees were $600 a piece. Boats were like $12,000 for a fully rigged boat. There was a fraction of the cost, and you didn't have the equipment out there that could create that financial disparity. Everybody, all they had a flasher on the console, a flasher up front, and they had 24-volt trolling motor with anywhere between 115 and 150 horse motor. Now out there, if you go to any tournament out there, you can see what I'm talking about. If a lot of these anglers out there that are financially well off, they have financial safety nets, you know, whether it be from family or whatever, they have a distinct advantage on everybody else. And this is going to increase, because you look at it now, we have broken the threshold, guys, in tournament fishing where a fully rigged bass boat is over $100,000. That is freaking stupid, ignorant, and ridiculous. And again, I blame the tournament organizations for not putting some type of a cap on this equipment. You know, and it's just balls to the wall. You know, if you want to spend $1 million on a bass boat, it's going to be there. Now, look at this. You look at the fact that when I started fishing back in the 80s, the cost of a fully rigged state-of-the-art bass boat was less than $15,000. Now it's over $100,000. What is it going to be in 20 years from now? Is it going to be $400,000 for a bass boat? It's just absolutely insane. And the same with the electronics. Back up until the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, the standard electronic setup on most people's boats were like everybody had a flasher on the console, a flasher up front. Usually you could buy them for like $300. Most everybody out there had less than $1,000 worth of money in their electronics, even if they were one of the people out there that had like the new liquid crystal 2D sonar. But I don't remember, for the majority of my tournament career, when I got my boat every year, I would have less than $1,000 worth of electronics. A lot of times less than $500 worth of electronics. So from that standpoint, electronics have jacked the prices up of boats more than anything. And what this does to the future of fishing is it has created this financial disparity that discriminates against lower income anglers. Make no mistake about it, guys, bass fishing is unlike any other sport. It does discriminate against people that don't have much money, and that sucks, and that's stupid, and that's a problem from the tournament organizations. The tournament organizations have created that financial disparity because they don't do anything to limit equipment. So we've got that issue. We've got the environmental issue. We've got the financial disparity issue. And then finally, we got this technological advancements, which is the biggest threat to the sport. But make no mistake about it, guys. Here's what you have on this. And you guys are well aware of my live scope position. You've heard me talk about it over and over and over again. People say, oh, Randy, you don't have any data. Nothing's changing. Everything's great, blah, blah, blah. Guys, there are so many bass fishermen out there that have their head in the sands when it comes to electronic technology. It's just absolutely ridiculous out there. Here's what the situation is. Let me give you a dose of reality on this advancing technology. Now, you see the technology we have right now where, forward-facing sonar and live scope, it completely dominates every tournament in tournament fishing. I don't care if it's a club tournament, if it's a AAA tournament, if it's a Bass Pro Elite Series, whatever out there. Forward-facing sonar has effectively taken over the sport completely. Okay, now let's put another 10 or 20 years of advancement on this technology, because Garmin and Humminbird and Lowrance, they're making record profits off of this type of stuff. They're not going to stop. Tournament organizations don't have the backbone to say we're not going to do this. As long as they're getting fed money from the electronic companies, they're not going to do anything. So here's the situation we have. There's no reins on this technology. So you have seen the technological advancements in the sport over the past 10 years, which has been phenomenal in a bad way. You multiply that times another 20 years. There's a market out there. So they're motivated by this market to keep advancing this technology. Look at the technological advancements that we're going to have in 10 or 20 years from now. Now, the problem that you have on this is that every time you have a technological advancement, even we've got it right now, there's no place for these fish to hide anymore. And throughout the history of bass fishing, the fish have always had some place to hide, specifically offshore or suspended. And those fish need that. Those fish have got to have a place where they can get away from the fishing pressure in order to survive and live and reproduce. So when you create technology that removes all of their hiding places and effectively makes they have nowhere to go, and you have technological advancements that allow them to catch the fish that you can see on the video game screens, it doesn't take Einstein to see how that's going to deplete a fishery. Because the thing about that is we're already seeing that with other species like crappie, how live scope's depleting the crappie populations. But as this technology is normalized and more people have it, and there's a large segment of the people out there that do not practice catch and release. They don't. They keep them and eat them. And then another factor with that is a large percentage of those fish that are caught with electronic technology are taken out of deep water, so they suffer barotrauma issues. They have internal organ damage. They have eye damage. A lot of those fish die from delayed mortality. It doesn't take a genius to figure out, as more people get into the sport, as technological advances become more readily available and people get better at using it, There's no way that our fisheries can survive that. There's a finite amount of bass in our lakes, guys. A lot of people think there's just an infinite amount of bass swimming out there. There's not. There's a finite number of bass. And the thing that threatens that more than anything else is these technological advances that allow people to get better and better and better at catching fish every time. We don't need to get that good. That's the thing about bass fishing that a lot of people can't get through their thick heads. We don't want to know everything. We don't want to be that good. You have to have something out there that is a mystery that you do not understand as a stopgap, as the protecting mechanism to the fish themselves. And right now, we don't have any breaks on that at all. We've got a few breaks. Environmentally, we get a few breaks when we get the right people in positions of power until that's switched over. Again, the financial part of it, that's the market that's going to set itself. And then the technological advances out there. If it continues at its current rate, guys, our fisheries are going to be devastated. And I don't have a lot of confidence in the state conservation departments doing the right thing, because they drag their feet on this. It's like, oh, we've got to do studies, we got to do this and that and this and that. It's by the time that they figure out what's going on, it's going to be too late, because all of the studies that they do to determine the health of the fisheries out there, they're inconclusive. A lot of them is by word of mouth. A lot of it is by shocking studies in just certain depth ranges of water. I can tell you one thing for sure, and that's the only thing that I need to know about, is fishing. When you try to catch bass with conventional bass fishing techniques right now, it's tougher than ever. Guys, I fish a lot, and I got a ton of friends that fish. Every single person I know, there's not one exception, everybody that fishes traditional bass fishing techniques has talked about how our fisheries are tougher now than they've ever been. And I always talk about this illusion that technology creates, that they think it's better, because when you go to a tournament, they say, oh, Randy, you don't know what you're talking about. It took 20 pounds to win this tournament. Well, yeah, it might have took 20 pounds to win the tournament from some dude spotlighting offshore bass, but the dude up there that was flipping a jig on boat docks, he caught 3 fish. And the problem you have with that is, as this technology gets more available to those particular anglers, those are going to be the only people catching any fish, is those people that can use that technology and afford that technology to basically target fish that should be protected and need to be protected. It's all a recipe for disaster, guys. I hate to say that. But I'm trying to do it to ring an alarm bell. Until we address those 3 particular issues, the future of this sport in the long term is freaking bleak. If we don't start electing people out there that put protecting our environmental safeguards, water and air quality as a top priority, if we don't start having, responsible tournament organizations that start limiting technology and limiting the skyrocketing costs of fishing, that's going to be out of reach for anybody unless you're, super wealthy. It just does not look good, because I understand what motivates so many people and so many businesses, and it's all about money. And every single thing that I talked about out there, the environmental issues, that's about money. That's about people that are putting pollution into the air and waters. They don't want to be regulated because it costs them too much money. So they try to subsidize, and they try to, put people in positions of power that will not regulate them. Number 2 is the skyrocketing costs of fishing in general, the boats, the motors, the technology, everything with it. That's a direct responsibility of those companies having bigger profit margins for having higher price point items, and the tournament directors or tournament organizations won't do anything about it. And then we all know about the technology, the forward-facing sonar technology, that's all about money, that nobody's got the balls out there to stand up and do the right thing with it. So if you want to be able to have your grandkids enjoy this sport the way that guys like myself enjoyed it back in the 70s and 80s, you better listen to me on this, guys. You better start paying attention to your elected officials. Put people in there that support strong environmental safeguards. Number 2, you better get with the tournament organizations and tell them to quit making this into an elitist sport. And number 3 is get on the bandwagon and help ban this electronic technology that's exploding and threatening the future of the sport. If we do that, if we take care of all three of those issues, we can have a sustainable, vibrant bass fishery for hundreds of years from now. But if we don't, if we allow everybody to be self-centered, it's just me, give me my live scope because it's fun to catch fish, and I like watching them on it. It's just I just love live scope. If you're one of those self-centered anglers out there that can't see beyond that, you need to reevaluate your entire viewpoint on fishing out there and start thinking about people that are going to inherit this planet and the future fisheries moving forward here. I don't want to hand off this planet to my son Elijah, to some freaking polluted ass planet that's been, water and air quality's been degraded because, some, major corporation can put people in positions of power to do their bidding. I don't want, my son Elijah or anyone out there to have to, in order to catch a fish, they've got to have $100,000 worth of electronics on their boat because there's no fish up on the bank anymore. They've all moved offshore to get away from the fishing pressure. It's up to us. If we do the right thing, that's it. If we do the right thing and start using our head and quit being so self-centered and just focused on ourselves, what's here and now, we can have a great future moving forward. But right now, the road that we're on right now, guys, it does not look good, man. It doesn't. I'm telling you right now, if you guys check back with me in 10 or 20 years or whatever like that, when I'm a super old dude out there, and just say, God dang, Randy, I wish we'd listened to guys like you back then, because look what we've done to our planet. Look what we've done to the sport. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. We'll talk later.